When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Your new hair era is here. At Sephora, you'll find carefully selected hair care products that work for your hair and take it to the next level. Your search for dream hair is over. Sephora is the place for hair care. Discover the best products that give your hair the treatment it needs from brands like Kerastase, K18, and Gisou. Plus, with free shipping and same-day delivery, there's never been a better time to trade up to healthier-looking hair. Shop hair at Sephora.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Racing Back. There's been a drought in England for a long, long time, but of course that's going to end because it's the Manx Grand Prix in the Isle of Man. And the last time I think it rained in Great Britain was probably the TT back in June. But we got a really special guest today. I'm so pleased he's been able to join us. Peter Duke. Peter is the son of Geoff Duke. Geoff Duke, 6 times world champion, 4 500 world titles, 2 250s, 33 Grand Prix wins, and an absolute legend in the 50s. And for people of my age, I was very, very young indeed. But the Pathé News, television, it was always pictures of Geoff Duke, of course, Peter's dad. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. And I think it's apt we start when the Manx Grand Prix is about to get underway, because it's exactly when your dad started, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And in fact, going back further than that, I have a family connection through my grandfather on my mum's side. He was one of the founder members in 1923 of the Manx Grand Prix. So, and then Dad obviously came along in 49, I think, did Clemens TT, I think 48, 49. And I think he did fairly well there, and then went on to a great career at the TT and the World Championships. But the Manx is about to happen. It's they're trying to get some qualifying in. I equate it very much to the classic TT as well now, which was I think an idea that the Manx Motorcycle Club had a few years ago to enhance the show, if you like, because obviously classics do tend to pull in a bit more than the sort of amateur races. So that was a good move, and I'm pleased to see that classic TT is still attracting some really serious riders on some very interesting machines.
The only boom sector, the classic sector.
Well, yes, it is, isn't it? You know, club racing, I'm sure, at club level is probably struggling all around the world in terms of, because their costs have gone up and they don't have lots of spectators. So we have to be realistic about that and look to the success of Goodwood and so forth.
Yeah, one of the main reasons we asked you, and you were kind enough to join us, is that the other weekend at the British Grand Prix, your dad was inducted into the Motor Grand Prix Hall of Fame, and about time, I may say. And looking behind you, there looks to be some fantastic memorabilia kicking about as well. But first, how did you feel his memory was treated by Dorna and the Grand Prix people?
Well, the 1950s were a long time ago, and whilst we've got some great video and so forth being in our business, but it's great that he's still remembered, and the Carmelo Espelita of Dorna MotoGP, he seemed to genuinely have a passion for the history of the World Championship. And I guess that's his mission, to make sure we don't forget the history. So it was great to receive a very nice, it's actually sitting on the table here, but yeah, great to receive a lovely heavy gong medal, which was great.
Very different times, wasn't it? In absolutely every way. The war had just ended. People were looking, certainly in Great Britain, for success. Racing was very much Grand Prix racing in its infancy. And your dad just embraced it all, didn't he?
Yes, and I mean, going, loading Works Nortons in 1951 to go to Germany for the first race after the war, really, in Solitude, I think it was, in
Yeah.
Germany. But they went there on the train, the works bikes, and rode them to the event in some cases, or they certainly had to often ride them back to the hotel. And 420,000 people turned up for one day of racing in Germany, and fortunately managed to beat the Germans on their BMWs,
Yes.
which. Don't think the crowd were quite so ecstatic about that, but they all came back in 55, I think, for him to win again, or 54 rather, when he won again in the Gilera. So I don't think they didn't. I think he's still got a few claps. So, but momentous, really. Momentous occasions, and yes, worldwide, before television, obviously, no TV hardly at all in the 50s. It was just in its infancy. The black and white TV set was a rarity, even sort of during the 50s. So yeah, fantastic that he somehow they got the word out, and 400,000 people turned up to see him race.
Amazing. And would it be fair to say, I don't mean this in any disrespect, that he was the pin-up boy in Britain of British sport, not only British motorcycle racing?
Well, he was always, I think, quite surprised when it was actually the newspaper surveys, the Daily Express and Nick Sketch or something. But obviously,
Yeah.
newspapers were the main way people found out about things in the 50s. He was voted Sportsman of the Year and
Yeah.
got 50 in 51, and got 52% of the entire vote. So, which was staggering, really, because we had some rather famous cricketers and footballers in those days as well, and runners, at the Olympics. So, yeah, that was quite remarkable, really. That I think he was generally surprised, and then repeated it because in '52, when the BBC started up there, they started the Sportsman of the Year, and he won again. So, yeah, that was. Yeah, pin-up boy, definitely. I always remember he never used stuff on his hair, despite had sort of wavyish hair and all the rest of it. And he was paid by Brill Cream
Yeah.
to do some adverts on telly in the late 50s. And so and then the final one, which I always remember. My mum showed me, because Dad never smoked, and my mum showed me this silver cigarette case, and I said, "Well, what was this? Was Dad never smoked?" He said, "No, this was a gift from I think Senior Service or something. It was one of the big brands at the time, and he did actually." Agree eventually to do with probably for a few quid, I think, but to do a cigarette advert. But he actually insisted the script was, "I don't smoke myself, but I always give my friends one of these Senior Service cigarettes."
I love it.
I said to him, "Well, I always kill my friends with these, but."
Yes. I love it. The thing that I always think about when I look at the history, specifically of 1951, your dad's double championship on Norton's 500 and 350. It was the only year a British single-cylinder motorcycle ever won the 500 title. There was no following. There was no follow-up. There was no Velocets or anything else that came near winning the 500 title. It was the peak of development of the most English motorcycle you can possibly think of. Ridden by an absolutely outstanding Ryder, and with some very clever work, getting that thing to the peak of what it could be.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Your new hair era is here. At Sephora, you'll find carefully selected hair care products that work for your hair and take it to the next level. Your search for dream hair is over. Sephora is the place for hair care. Discover the best products that give your hair the treatment it needs from brands like Kerastase, K18, and Gisou. Plus, with free shipping and same-day delivery, there's never been a better time to trade up to healthier-looking hair. Shop hair at Sephora.
Am I reading my history correctly?
Absolutely, and Dad battled with the in 1952 he did have a serious battle, and I think he only won the 350 championship in 52. And I said to him, why did you keep going with this thing? Well, because trying to persuade Norton to do a 4-cylinder, but he was out there racing, and these machines, the Norton got to about 52 horsepower. The 4-cylinder multis from Italy were already doing 70 horsepower. And the 15 miles an hour at least difference in top speed. Yes. And he eventually just had to yield to the realities of being the top rider, that he had to then go into Gilera in 53 and then carried on winning with some success, obviously.
Just a bit.
So, it was the single cylinder Nortons. Norton just refused to put any money into developing a 4-cylinder.
And we should say the 350 title was never a walkover because Motor Guzzi made an outstanding lightweight single.
Lightweight single, yes. It wasn't so much the 350, Gilera, Motor Guzzi or Gileras that were the issue, because they were sleeved down versions of the big 500, so they're a bit too heavy and they didn't quite deliver the power. But as you said, the Guzzi was a phenomenal machine with its aircraft technology. Super machine. So he had to battle, but anyway.
And I mean, the reason, obviously, the Italian factories were looking at men like your father was they knew how a motorbike should handle. They knew how it had been made to handle.
Yes.
And they wanted that knowledge. Is the story about him getting off the aircraft in Milan with a couple of Girling dampers in his bag actually true, or is that a bit of?
He introduced Avon tyres, which he'd had obviously, to Gilera instead of the cardboard Pirellis. Well, sorry, Pirelli. The not so good, lower hysteresis rubber Pirellis. He introduced a lot of his knowledge, because he was always very technical. He was very fascinated by the whole technicalities, and he worked, obviously worked with Artie Bell, and the McCandless, Rex McCandless, introduced him obviously to the feather bed, and he convinced Norton obviously to adopt that, and hey presto, it worked rather well. And so the whole idea of a lower centre of gravity, a lighter machine ideally as well, but getting the weight down into the bike and keeping it narrow. And that was the main thing he brought to Gilera, was they had the engine high in the frame because it was wide, and in I think 3 months over the winter they narrowed that engine down by, I think it was 3 inches. Whoa. So it was able to drop in the frame.
Yeah.
So the Gilera was transformed. Dad was always very impressed with, relatively small facilities that they could re-engineer the whole engine into a narrower format so it would handle. And thereafter, it handled perfectly.
It's funny when you look at illustrations of the pre-1951, the immediate post-war bikes, they look antique. They look 1930s, not 1950s.
Yes.
The Manx Norton, engine forward, low down, quite a steep head angle, weight on the front, which makes obviously the chassis geometry rather critical to make sure you can stay on the damn thing.
Yeah.
But it looks like a modern motorcycle. If you put, say, cast wheels on it, you go, oh, that could have been designed last week. It is the first.
Yes.
It's the blueprint for the modern racing motorcycle.
Proper looking bike.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Dad never had a steering damper on when he raced the Gilera until they brought the. It was a bit of a long story, but basically he could do cronky body straight, which is pretty bumpy, and he said you could literally go along there flat chat, just fingertips on the bars. Just throttle wide open, 150 probably, and it would always handle perfectly, and that was the Gilera as well as the Norton. So,
and I mentioned for Avon tyres, I was just doing a bit of reading before we started recording. I had always assumed stupidly that he won the 51 title on Dunlops. He didn't. It was Avon's.
Yes, the Dunlops had thrown him off a little too often. Twice he went down the road with complete tyre failure. The famous one at Assen, where he had burns because of the friction burn going down the road at over 100 miles an hour, and then went back out. But the Dunlops, once tread coming off, and then by the time it happened a second time, he had to find a better solution.
And it was Avon's car.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to come more onto the more practical things. Jules is the technical man. One-piece leathers. He's very famous indeed for the first man to. He didn't manufacture them, get them manufactured and wear them.
Yeah. Well, I took a call back. Oh gosh, when I'm in the business, we sort of first put a call often for communicating with Dad and the science meeting. And we've got an exhibition, Mr. Duke, of the history of protective clothing, and we've identified the fact your father was the inventor of the one-piece leathers. Yeah. So he lent them the leathers, and they were there in 6 months in London in the Science Museum. So I think he's pretty officially invented the one-piece leathers. Yeah. I think to start with, it was partly weight saving, but mainly aerodynamics. He was always very aware of the need to get tucked in and all the rest of it. And different screens, even on the old Nortons. The shape of the fly screen was fairly important. So the one-piece leathers were there for wind resistance and lightweight as well. The downside, I remember him telling me, was that the first time he did probably a TT, a longer race, rather than a short blast round Mallory or sort of one of the smaller tracks, was that he got pumped. He got it was gripping. The leather was Nappa leather, gripped a bit like a chamois leather would, soft leather on your skin. And so he then went to a ballet shop somewhere in the Manchester area and bought a one-piece ballet suit, basically. The silk, I think they were made in silk or something at the time. Yeah. And so he wore this underneath the leathers, and then the leathers slid over his body. But he did, I think, get a bit of stick in the paddock.
I could imagine.
but then they all copied him.
Yes.
I could imagine him going in the ballet shop. I want it for motorcycle.
I want a one-piece suit that is nice and slippery.
And did he? Am I right in thinking that I read in his autobiography that the first one-piece leather suit, he commissioned his tailor in St Helens?
Frank Barker, yes, in St Helens. Yes. Frank Barker was, he knocked on the door and said, can he wasn't even doing leathers. He wasn't doing leather jackets or,
Indeed.
in the old days, it would be a pair of old ex-army flying, sort of RAF flying trousers or a pair of breeches out of the army dispatch riders thing. And then if you're lucky, you could afford a leather jacket, but they're all bulky. So no, this guy had never worked in leather before. Dad said, I've seen this thin leather, something like this. Can you, like a lady's glove, type leather? And he knocked up a couple of versions, sat down, crouched, so there was a bit of room for the knees and elbows and all the rest of it. And the first one-piece leathers were born, and they worked rather well. He thought it was probably worth $1/4 an hour. So
marginal gains.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's a world champion speaking, isn't it? Yeah. And all this success, as we say, and in Britain and throughout the world. But I was so impressed reading about how he stuck up for the privateers when he led the strike, didn't he? The Dutch TT at Assen.
Yes.
Had
Yes.
big consequences for him personally.
Well, it did, and it had almost a consequence for motorcycling, unfortunately, because of the stubbornness of at the time the Dutch organisers, but it was a common across most circuits. The circuit owners were king, we're doing you a favour by letting you come and race here, sort of thing. So it's a bit different now, isn't it? The riders were getting nothing really. The below 10th place, there was no start money, not a bean. You're lucky to get your petrol given by the local petrol station. So they stuck up because Assen regularly had 200,000 crowd, 150 to 250,000 on the bankings there, and they were raking it in basically, relatively speaking. So Dad thought some of the riders needed a better deal. Him and Reg Armstrong and I think 3 or 4 others of the top guys, did stand up to the plate, and then they're the only ones who got penalised. So cost him the 56 World Championship, of course.
Yes, because he was suspended from racing, basically.
Suspended for a year, which took it. Well, it was particularly brutal because it was the end of 55, and let me get this right. No, it was the end of 56. That's right, and then it was the 56 Assen where the strike was held, and then but it messed up the 57 because he couldn't do the 57 TT.
Right, and that's a fantastic story, and riders were treated disgracefully at that time, weren't they?
They were. I mean, safety. Dad always accepted. He never ever said a circuit was dangerous. He just said it was a challenge, but he lost. Bob Mack was a close friend. His Uncle Bob to me. Dickie Dale was my godfather, and he died. And Keith Campbell, of course, my uncle, died in 56. That was it in the French Grand Prix. So we were acutely aware of danger and the need for perhaps circuits to get a little bit safer. But when you look at Dad just loved racing Nürburgring and TT. So you go into the trees at Nürburgring and you bounce off a stone wall in the Isle of Man if you get it wrong. So, but he did try not to fall off too often.
Yeah. Yes, he wasn't noted for. He was noted for perfectionism rather than recklessness, indeed. And again, I'm going back to his autobiography. I think I'm right in remembering that he said the Nürburgring was the most difficult circuit he wrote, not the island.
I think the Nürburgring. Yes, he certainly spent a week learning the Nürburgring, and that was in a car, and did manage to set the lap record and win first time out on it. But he loved the Nürburgring, And I wouldn't say he said it was the most difficult. I think they probably put them on the par because the TT did have its sort of rest points, although the bumps didn't really help. Even over the mountain, it was bumpy. So, I would say the Nürburgring is relentless. It's up, down, corners, and it's a very, very extremely challenging track. I've raced in a 24-hour car race there, so yeah, I've experienced that myself. It's a little bit, but a lot smoother roads now.
And car racing, he did dabble. Is that the correct word, or a little bit more than dabble in car racing?
Yeah. I mean, he was asked by David Brown of Aston Martin to just have a spin in one of my cars, Geoff. We want to go and win Le Mans, a few sports car races, and there were regular races for sports cars. He was pretty good at it. John Wyer, who was the team manager of Aston Martin at the time, said that if Dad had continued racing cars, he would have definitely been a world champion. And he said he was ahead of Sterling Moss over here in the 53 sort of Empire Trophy race, which ran the clip circuit. Then the dashboard fell out of the old Aston, but it ceased to function. But he had some quite good results in Bern in Switzerland. He was right up there with Fangio and the Works Mercedes. So in a sports car race.
Wow. Bike-wise, he did come back, and as a real youngster, I remember, I'm sure went to Brands Hatch and saw the Duke Scuderia Gilera team with Derek Minter and John Hartle. Your dad was running, and I'm sure I saw them at Brands Hatch.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Your new hair era is here. At Sephora, you'll find carefully selected hair care products that work for your hair and take it to the next level. Your search for dream hair is over. Sephora is the place for hair care. Discover the best products that give your hair the treatment it needs from brands like Kerastase, K18, and Gisou. Plus, with free shipping and same-day delivery, there's never been a better time to trade up to healthier-looking hair. Shop hair at Sephora.
Well, yeah, it probably would have been actually.
Yeah.
Derek Minter, John Hartle, and later Phil Reed after Derek Minter had a big accident on his private Norton. He had a big accident, so Derek was out of it. But 63, the bike still had a bit of potential. It had ceased to handle well because they'd modified the frame for the 57 full fairing side of it. So, he gave me all the detailed description of why the thing didn't handle in 63. He managed to get some of that handling back. And then, of course, it was actually quite competitive in 63. It was Hartle, I think.
Two very good riders.
Yeah, great. And then Phil Reed didn't do too badly on it. Dada was... He was pretty good. So Phil, he was a bit difficult to manage. I think.
Off the track, it probably wasn't quite so easy.
No. But yeah, he had to go. He had to go with that, but he couldn't persuade the factory to put up any money at all. I mean, the things came from into the UK with still the old plugs and tires on. So I had to start from scratch really with them.
Yes, this was Gilera, so some 5-year-old Gileras we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and they just finished the last Grand Prix of whatever season in the shed, and next thing they're on a boat, as you say, with
absolutely
crusty tyres and
the old the old plugs in there. So they hadn't even fired them up, you know. So
And he made his name obviously originally in the Isle of Man, and I think settled in the Isle. I think he's always associated in many ways, not only racing wise, with the Isle of Man. Your dad.
yes, I mean he had quite a successful business career over here. Obviously, was never relentlessly active in all sorts of business activities. As soon as he packed up racing in sort of '59. And yeah, the Isle of Man, he could see opportunities here. He bought a hotel, it was the first hotel with all private bathrooms and that sort of thing, and underfloor heating, unbelievably, electric underfloor heating in 1960. So we bought a hotel in '58. My mum ran it. I grew up there. Great little hotel. And then he moved on to garage business, wholesale garage with the first self-service petrol station in the Isle of Man, which they said never worked. Self-service, no, people still work there. It was the first petrol station to do 1 million gallons a year. And then 19...
Did they try? They weren't draining out the bikes when they come out on the ferry.
He used to. We always saw the steam packet as just desperately needing, competition and a kick. He was a great believer in competition and everything.
Yeah.
So he obviously eventually, very briefly in 1966 there was the Seamen's strike. There was no ferry to the Isle of Man for 3 months. No TT. The TT was delayed to September that year, and the whole economy was struggling. The building trade had completely stopped. So he and a couple of other guys chartered some Dutch ships and operated into Castletown. That's curious, actually. Yeah, they operated into Castletown because the unions wouldn't allow Douglas, and they kept the Isle of Man going. That built up into having 60% of the island's containerized freight traffic because the steam packet didn't do containers, and that then gave birth to 1978 full-on ro-ro competition against the steam packet. But that's a whole separate story.
Yeah, it is. He was competitive to the finish, wasn't he, in every way?
Absolutely, and had his shirt on the line with literally the lot was still in his late 60s. He was still risking everything really on there to support the Manx line thing.
Still racing, basically. Still racing.
Yeah.
Not
afraid of
way.
Risk assessment, risk management, but not afraid of it at all.
And if you're my age, of course, you remember Duke videos.
Golly, yeah.
I thought that was it. I never realised in my earlier years he had some proper stuff going on as well.
Well, that was me really. That was my baby. The Duke video. A lot of people do. Obviously, great having a name in motorsport, to say the least. But no, I started that after Manx Line. After Manx Line died through the harbour installation was destroyed in a storm, which shouldn't have happened, but it did. And the insurance payout for 7 million came 5 years too late. So we as a family, I moved back to the island in '78 to run the marketing side of Manx Line, and we're never short of customers, I'm pleased to say. So, but then 2 years on, I was sort of, do I go back to UK, rejoin Avon, whatever, or do I try, have a go? So I was marketing consultant, and then came across videos in 1980. 81. That was early days for videos, I think the biggest video collections were probably Electric Blue, I think, which and the early days of video. It was, you go down the video shop and you might find a couple of movies, and then a few other more interesting for the chaps videos, and nobody was doing motorsport. So I started up doing motorsport, and finished up with a fair few of those out in the world. Yeah, it's sold over 100 million videos around the world.
Did you 100 million? Yeah.
Yeah, including licensees in Japan. We were big in Japan in Formula One, and in fact, we're instrumental actually in Honda getting into Formula One, because they wanted to know all. They were buying they contacted our distributor in Japan and said, how do we get these videos? And Fuji Television then said, well, if you go racing, we'd like to do all this Formula One stuff. So I rang Burnley and Eccleston, said there's some people in Japan want to get into Fuji Television, and they want to get into. They've been seeing our videos. This is mid-80s, 83, I think. So anyway, by the by, but we're quite big. We have been quite big in video, and a bit of TV as well. We did stuff for Discovery Channel and so forth. But
Nick, we have 2 minutes left. 2 minutes.
Let's say people of
2 minute warning.
Again, at my age, they grew up. Well, I grew up voicing some of them, but I meet so many people that still say, Duke Video, oh yes, we watched this. It was a massive part of the racing scene, racing heritage in some ways.
Yes, I think we did a bit for the TT as well, because we always did. We introduced the TV coverage in '95 with dear old Brian Kreisky. I brought him over in '85, and that set a few things in motion. So it was great to spread the motorsport world and motorsport word around the globe.
It's the only way a fan could see the races.
Yeah,
absolutely. Unless you had the
And if you switch the internet off completely, somebody blows the internet on one day, that's the only way you're going to be able to watch them on a DVD or a VHS.
Nick, we have a minute left.
All right. Well, I think all I can say, I think you carried on the tradition that your dad started. Your dad on the track, you off the track, and an absolute legend, your father. And watching the Pathé News, I was a little lad going to the cinema and see him jump that Norton over Bath Bridge, set me on the road that I followed, I can promise you.
Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you, guys.
Oh, Jules. Well, I'm off to the Isle of Man for the Manx Grand Prix. The Manx Classic.
Yes.
Just listening to Peter Duke and thinking about Geoff Duke and the island. It's really made me quite excited about going.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's easy. I mean, we're talking about the early 50s, mid to mid 50s, and he's great, which is okay. It's a long time ago, even in
our age. Yeah.
Well, I was born in 53, so
47. So yeah.
It is a long time ago, but we are talking just one of the great riders of British motorcycle. Forget
world
British.
Champ,
any motorcycle. I love when after Geoff died, I remember Giacomo Agostini being interviewed, I think by Susie, and referring to Geoff as the Iron Duke.
Yeah, what a wonderful guy.
And coming from Ago, you can imagine that,
Oh, yeah.
Sort of the power that image had.
And the Duke Video story, which was Peter. I mean,
which is Peter's own
way
creation.
to find out about things. It certainly, quite honestly, set me on my career in many ways. Certainly that side of my career. Going over to the island to work for Brian Kreisky doing voiceovers was an experience that stood me in good stead.
Yes, I did a few. It was
working life.
Educational.
Yeah, very. Arguing about 50 pence travelling expenses for at least the whole day you were there.
Undoubtedly, yeah. But and Peter was saying just at the end there that he'd like to do something more on the technical development. Well, I think we should have him back at
100%. 100%.
Later in the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I'd certainly, I'm more than happy to listen to Peter
Oh,
again.
very much so.
And I hope you folks at home are.
Yeah. And I tell you what is also nice. Yeah, it's introduced an era of racing that we probably hardly ever touched before because of it's such a long time ago.
Well, that's it. You're my age, 73, and you can't, and I can't really remember it.
No, absolutely not. No.
So it's
As I said, I can remember going to the cinema with my dad and seeing the Pathé News, which was the news thing, wasn't it? The cinema.
the newsreel.
And
Yeah.
seeing, I can hear the voice, Bob Danvers Walker, was it? And here is Geoff Duke on the British Norton over Ballaugh Bridge. And it's like fired me up. I'm thinking, wow, this is unbelievable. Yeah, yeah.
And that's how you saw moving pictures of Grand Prix.
Yes, it was
before
the
watching
only way.
video.
Yeah, yeah. And then video would, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, next week we got another legend. He's back, Freddie Spencer. And wow, we love Brands Hatch and we love the Transatlantic Trophy, but this is an episode that gets into the real stuff, doesn't it? And with Honda, the NR 500, incredible stories of how he rode the NR 500 and led on it in certain races and how high he had to rev it. It was incredible.
And how Honda gave up with it when they recently realised that even a genius like Freddie couldn't win on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Freddie goes on to the NS and the first world title.
That's right. Yeah.
And it is just a remarkable story. And at the end of that one, he nips back. I asked him, I mentioned that image of him on the TZ 700 Brands laid right over, and then he explains why he was over so far so early, and it is a gobsmacking bit of bike riding technique, of racing technique. If you think you know your way round Brands Hatch and how to get round there quick, I suggest you listen to that. And then remember, it was Freddie's first time at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, that's right. First time out of America as well.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's great. And the Anderstorp battle with Kenny Roberts, which is etched into Grand Prix racing history. Hear Freddie's side of it, which is very different to Kenny's side of it.
Yes, there will probably be some differences, but Freddie tells you from his point of view what he did, and he says, he ran. He never touched him, but he didn't make life easy.
Watching Kenny's hands at 160 miles an hour to see. When he just blipped the throttle, just watching, you just got to listen. We're giving too much away. People aren't going to watch it.
One of the greatest riders we've ever seen. Certainly, in my view, the fastest rider I've ever seen, along with Casey. Of how Roberts had sandbagged him, and how he, had a fantastic bit of racecraft going on, and how Freddie countered that. Just abandon anything else next week and listen to that. It's not as relaxing as listening to Peter Duke go through some.
No, it's very relaxing. Listening to Peter was very relaxing, was it? They lost £7 million when the storm destroyed. That wasn't.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Your new hair era is here. At Sephora, you'll find carefully selected hair care products that work for your hair and take it to the next level. Your search for dream hair is over. Sephora is the place for hair care. Discover the best products that give your hair the treatment it needs from brands like Kerastase, K18, and Gisou. Plus, with free shipping and same-day delivery, there's never been a better time to trade up to healthier-looking hair. Shop hair at Sephora.
It's so relaxing. I remember the Manx line. Brilliant. Right, don't forget your tickets, motorsporttickets.com, Q code up on the screen. It all helps us, and like a lot of other things, Jules.
It does. Don't forget to subscribe to whichever podcast platform you use to listen to us. It helps us very much to creep up those algorithms up to the top of the search engine notifications. And if you're feeling flush, join our Paddock Club and get all our stuff early, plus a few bonuses.
Big thank you to Peter Duke. And yeah, I'm sorry, I can close my eyes and there's Geoff Duke on the north. That wonderful sound going over Ballaugh Bridge, both wheels off the ground. Well, thanks for the memories.